scheduling with you all in advance, but hold on, there we go. But I'm here. Haven't really had time to plan because life been lifing. So we gonna do 3.5 things. Hey friend. Hey Tim. Why are these cards like this? We are going to do. Hold on. I'm just making sure all my cards are the right way. I really was on something when I put these back together. Thank you. Today I was like, I'm putting on lips. Hey y'all came. Yay, YouTube is here. Took a while for the YouTube congregation to show up, but they have arrived. Why are my cards all in disarray? Lord have mercy. Okay. Instagram. Who wants me to pull a card for you? You want me to pull a card for you? Am I centered now? Okay, I think I'm centered. Gotta turn this. There we go. All right. Who wants me to pull a card on Instagram for you? All right, Monica X Lease. This is for you. Monica, the card on the bottom is the Tower. The Tower likes to blow that thing up to smithereens. Just whatever you thought you knew, whatever you thought that you understood, whatever story you were telling yourself about your life, about your circumstances, situations. Monica, the Tower is a message that this is a moment to tell a new story. And even more so, it's like a sudden aha moment and realization that the story you've been telling yourself ain't it. Like that's not what it is. And letting go of that story, of course they would come and start doing the yard now. But letting go of that story can be really difficult, Monica. So this is just a reassurance that whatever breakthrough mentally in your understanding of where you are in your life that's happening, the cards are reinforcing that. So we have the Eight of Cups. This is really like suddenly all at once you realize it's time to go. It's time to divest emotionally from the thing that you have been feeling like was for you. The Eight of Cups is this card. It's generally not bittersweet. It's a really, especially with the Tower, it's just like, yep, I don't like that no more. I don't want that no more. That's not for me anymore. I get the feeling that there's some emotional habit that you are releasing or having a breakthrough with, Monica. And that these cards are reinforcing that this is the moment to let go, the moment to allow this new understanding to come in, and that with this new understanding, some things that mattered to you before, Monica, are not going to matter to you anymore, and that's part of the process. It's okay if you feel feelings, feel grief, whatever about that, Monica, but it's time to go. All right, who on YouTube would like for me to pull a card for them? YouTube, I'm looking at you. Let's see. Volume. Okay. Oh. Hi. Sorry, y'all. The microphone was on the floor, but I think you all can hear me now. I think you can hear me now. Sorry, YouTube people. I know y'all couldn't hear me, but I think that y'all can hear me now. All right, who did I see first here? Y'all going so fast. Nikhil 1913. Was that? Yes. All right, Monica. See, the spirit be knowing, the cards be knowing. I'm just sending a message. Okay, Nikhil. Who is this? Nikhil 1913 on YouTube. This is for you. All right. We've got the Page of Pentacles. This is a card of budgeting, of making an assessment of the resources, skills, and talents. Intuitively, what's coming up for me, Nikhil, is that you are taking stock and inventory of the skills that you have for like a job. So I don't know if you're trying to change careers, go back to school, figure out what skills you need, figure out what it is that you're capable of. What's the phrase that's coming to me? Transferable skills. So I don't know if you're trying to switch industries or move into a new field or whatever is going on, but this Page of Cups really feels like an opportunity to take an assessment of your material, kind of tangible skills and resources. Specifically, it feels like this is for career. So let's see. We've got the World. Yeah. This is a card of both literal and figurative graduation. The World is really where there is a prescribed pathway, set of criteria or whatever that you have to meet. And the World is like, all right, you did it. Now it's over. Time to move on. So I don't know if you're a recent graduate from school, from a graduate program, and you're trying to figure out which direction that you want to go for school, for your career, if you want to go back to school. Nikhil, I don't know if you are trying to pivot, or maybe you have been working in a specific industry and it's time, you're feeling like, you know what, that's over. But there's really a sense that you've gone as far as you can go. You've reached the top or the pinnacle, at least, of the opportunity that's available to you. So this is just a reinforcement that it's time to move on, and that your inklings and feelings that the road has ended are correct. And it's really important that you take stock of what you have and you think in terms of the tools that are available to you that you've already had. Now, if this leads you to maybe wanting to get an additional certification or go back to school and acquire a degree, that is definitely possible with these cards too. So congratulations, boo. It's time to move on up, Nikhil. All right. Let's see here. All right, y'all. I only do 2 people. One day, for real, one day I'm going to come on here and all I'm going to do is pull cards for people, and you're going to have the time of your life. You are. One day I'm going to do that, but it's not going to be today because we got to talk about this astrology for real. We must talk about this astrology. And yeah, if you're on YouTube and you're just joining us, please like this video, subscribe, comment. That teaches the algorithm that what I have to say is valuable and that you want other people to hear it and you want other people to see it. So the more you like, the more you comment, the more you subscribe and share, the more this video shows up as recommended content, the more that this shows up in people's feeds, the more that this shows up in people's searches. That's what we want. We want everyone to get in on this divination for liberation. I want you guys to get in on it. Now, it is time. You're welcome, Nikhil. All right, it is time for, hold on, is this? All right, it is time for you to pull out your 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide, because we have a lot of catching up to do. We have a lot to talk about, guys. And I just want you guys to rewind. I want you guys to revisit in your mind a particular time period, 2 particular time periods in the past. I want you to set your mind on the end of July 2019. What was going on in your life? What was your mama doing? What was your auntie doing? What was your grandma doing? What was your sister friend doing? What was your body doing? That's what I really want to know. What was your body doing in July 2019? I'll tell you what my body was doing. My body was like, girl, if you don't drink some water, take a nap and get hydrated, you and I are going to have a problem. Oh, you think that you can just like get a little bit of wheat in your system and be all right? No. So what was, thank you. So what was your body saying to you July 2019? What did it have to say? Now, Maybe you don't remember, and that is all right. But I'm going to tell you something. I know for a fact, if you cannot remember what your body was saying to you in July of 2019, right? I know that you most certainly remember what your body was saying to you at the end of February. It wasn't the end of February. There was a full moon, February 7th, 2019. And I remember this very clearly because all the tropicalists were like, oh my God, it's a new moon in Leo, new moon in Leo. And then I started seeing people saying like, this does not feel like a full moon in Leo. This, I don't know what this is. And I was like, you're right, because it's in Cancer. Why don't you come over to the sidereal side and maybe you might really know what's going on, right? So we're thinking about these two time frames because we've come full circle. That's the theme for July, right? See, if you have your guide, you already know. The theme for July is full circle. We done come around the way, girl, haven't we? Haven't we? And now that we've come full circle, we have a sense of where we're not going. We have a sense of where we're going. But the most important thing about July and this moment, this new moon that we've just had, is your body. See, when we've spent all of this time in Gemini, it's very easy to be looking at the body like, wow, that's an interesting body there. I don't know what you're doing. It looks interesting, but I'm over here doing this, right? We disconnect, we dissociate from our bodies. But once planets get in Cancer, that body be loud, live, and direct, and you don't have any choice but to listen to it because your body will take you out. Now, what is this conversation as if we are separate from our bodies, right? The fact of the matter is that I can focus on one thing, have my consciousness and my mental perception directed in a particular direction, yet my body be doing something totally different, right? So let us pull out the 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide and let's talk about it. The sun is currently in Cancer. It entered Cancer July 16th, 2020. It will stay there until August 16th, 2020. And on this page of the 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide, where it says planets and transits, I've broken down for you what a planet transiting a particular sign means for us. The house the sun moves through at any given time determines where you are focused. Think of the house occupied by the sun as the area of your life in the spotlight. It's where your attention is drawn because everything is visible there. Now, I'm gonna flip the script, turn it around, and come down to Saturn, which is also on this page here. And Saturn is reality. So sun is focus and Saturn is reality. Saturn defines reality. The house it transits says who or what determines the limits of your time, your energy, your body, and other resources at any given time. Every planet must deal with Saturn, as it is either conspiring with, undermined by, or in contention with reality. This is important because the sun has been opposed Saturn for the first time since Saturn was in Capricorn. The sun takes a month to move through each sign. A year goes through the whole zodiac, so the sun gets a turn in every sign over the course of a year. But Saturn spends 2.5 years in each sign, and it takes about 30 years, 29 to 30 years, for Saturn to move through all 12 signs of the zodiac and come back to a particular point. So what that means is this is the first time that Saturn has been in Capricorn since 1992, 93. That's when it left, okay? That also means that this is the first time that the sun has opposed Saturn in Capricorn from Cancer since 1992-ish, right? What does it mean for the sun to be opposed Saturn? It means that our focus is in contention with reality. It means that our mind and our eyes and our attention is focused on one thing, and reality is presenting something else to us that is at odds with where we are focused. So, where are we focused? Well, the sun is in Cancer. And if you turn to the sidereal zodiac sign meanings page in the guide, you will see that Cancer says immediate needs, essential need for food, safety, shelter, and belonging. Now, check this next part. This is going to blow your mind a little bit. It blew my mind. It's going to blow your mind, I know. Cancer is under the influence of mother, family, wife, and other women. All that means, hey Tiffany, all that means is that if you have planets in sidereal Cancer in your birth chart, the easiest way to interpret that placement is to ask, who is she? What is her name? Is it your mother? Is it your grandmother? Is it Aunt Betty? Is it your cousin? Is it your sister who thinks she's your mother or had to act like your mother because don't nobody know where your mother was? You see this? Right? Now, our focus is on mother. Our focus is subservient to mother. Now, look at what just happened in Portland. All of the mothers gathered together on the front lines of the protest. They're protecting food, safety, shelter, belonging, right? And then we get copycat movements all over the country now. Mothers have banded together in Chicago. You think that this is just a blip on the radar? No, we got another like 3-4 weeks of this, my friend. We've got another 3 or 4 weeks of women being at the helm of mother and the significance of mother, the power of mother to shape our perceptions. But also, Cancer, I see, it's too loud over here. I'm gonna fix it, y'all, sorry. Thank you, Shar. Okay, the sound should be good now on YouTube. Sorry. Let me know, YouTube, if the sound is still messing up, y'all. So the other side of Cancer, though, is the physical body. So again, anytime you have planets in Cancer, it is subservient to the needs, moods, hormonal cycles, fluctuations, well-being, illness, health of your physical body. Now, this seems really straightforward, but imagine having your Mars in Cancer. Imagine your drive for freedom and autonomy and the capacity to take action and establish ambitions being subservient to your body. That means if your body says sit that A down, then you've got to sit that A down. If your mother says go do this, you're going to go do this, right? That's what Cancer means. So what does Saturn and Capricorn mean, right? My son is over there jamming on the one. Saturn in Capricorn, Capricorn imposes order, functions within real or perceived material constraints, determines limits to create order, master tools, and establish methods. This is Capricorn. See, there are some people who walk into a room and they look at what's there. Let's say that there is an axe, there are some saws, measuring tape, nails, hammer. They walk into a room and they're like, yeah, this is really nice, but I would like to sew clothes, right? And so that person encounters reality and they reject reality. Now, depending on the circumstances, it might be that they just have to leave the room and go into another room. And then maybe there's a sewing machine in there, or maybe they got to go work and buy one, or maybe that option is just not available. But then there are people who walk into a room and see that axe, those saws, the nails, the hammers, etc. And they're like, oh, this is for building a bed. Let's get to work. I don't know how to build a bed, but I got all the tools. This looks like building a bed. I'm pretty sure I can figure out how to build a bed because all the tools are here, right? That second person is Capricorn. The first person is Aries. Aries is like, yeah, this is not what I'm here for. This is not what I want to do. I can't do this. I want to do this, so I'm going to go over here, right? And Saturn, Capricorn is like, oh, we building a bed today, okay? We building a bed today. Look at all this. How you going to walk away from all of this stuff of building a bed and then not build a bed? You could build a bed and sell it, and then you could go get your sewing machine. Matter of fact, you could pay somebody else to sew it for you if you figure out how to build the bed, right? Capricorn, right? Capricorn encounters reality and shapes and forms itself to accept that reality. Now, why can that be a problem? I just gave a great example of when that works out well, right? They can be resourceful when it works out well. They can acquire new skills and master the tools that they have on hand when it works out well. But what if that reality is oppressive and violent? Should you conform to the reality? It depends. Is your will to reject reality and enforce an ambition for freedom, is that available for you? If it's available for you, then it's like, sure, go right ahead, reject reality. But even sometimes in those circumstances, we must accept that right now you can't do what you want to do. And I know you really want to do what you want to do, but it's just not possible right now. And so you can spend your energy throwing a tantrum, dreaming, whatever it is that you want to do. But the reality is not going to change. This is Saturn. The reality of Saturn is that it is still a pandemic. The reality of Saturn is that you have to make difficult choices, right? Now, what does it mean for Saturn and Capricorn to be opposed to Sun and Cancer? It means that while we are focused on home and family, while we are focused on our needs for food and safety and shelter, while we are focused on our body, while we are focused on women and mothers, while we are, focused on our immediate needs, Saturn and Capricorn is over there sitting with their hand under their chin like, wow, that's really interesting, right? Capricorn is hard because Saturn and Capricorn is like, just because you need it, you're not going to get it. And so oppositions give us perspective and the capacity to really see something clearly. So we have the opportunity to focus on what you really need. I know you thought you needed such and such, but what do you really need? Now, I made some tweets on Twitter, and I was talking about how the fundamental function of relationships is to share the burden of survival. Wow, dang, I saw that, Tiffany, with the 8 stitches in your knee, right? And Saturn rules the knees. Oof, 10th house rules the knees. So if you're Sidereal Aries rising, that would make so much sense, right? But I talked about how, anyways, back to these tweets. I talked about how the fundamental primal function of relationship is to share the burden of survival. And I talked about how there is a measure of privilege involved when we choose relationships based on things like likes versus dislikes and the concept of compatibility. There's a privilege there. Why? It means that your survival needs must be taken care of. If you can focus on liking versus disliking someone, if you can focus on what makes you feel good as the primary means towards choosing a partner, friends, or community, then it must mean that you've got enough food on the table, you've got shelter and a place to live, you have a means to survive. However, when you don't have that privilege, when you need food to eat, when you need a shelter, when you need sustenance, now it becomes very clear that relationships are for survival. Cancer reminds us of that. Cancer reminds us that the family unit, the tribe, the community is meant to share the burden of survival. Now look around us. Are we sharing the burden of survival? Raise your hand if you think that we're sharing the burden of survival. Do you think? What do you think? Do you think we're sharing the burden of survival? I don't know, right? But I will tell you this, that as we move further through this Saturn and Capricorn time, the more we realize that survival cannot be taken for granted, the more we realize that some people are actually suicidal. Some people are actually homicidal. The risk of leaving home without a mask, being around strangers who they cannot be sure have been socially distancing properly and sheltering in place, this is a threat, right? So this is an opportunity for us to change the bedrock, cornerstone, and foundation of what keeps our relationship solid. Is this to say that you should not have people in your life that you've chosen because of common interest? No. But because the sun is in Cancer, the focus needs to be on, do you share the burden of survival with me, or are you a threat? Period, point blank. Those people might be in your family. The people who want to gallivant all over the country, want to go to a party here, take a trip here, no masks involved, right? So here is the question. Who in your life shares the burden of survival with you? That is family. You can learn to love and like those with whom you share the burden of survival. How do you do that? You set your priorities straight and you accept reality that these other people who you might be checking for are out here doing the most and putting your life at risk in their own, right? So who is family? I don't mean blood. I don't mean biology. I mean, who has a vested interest in living past 2020? It gets really simple. It gets very simple, right? That's what Capricorn does. That's what Saturn does, right? It strips things down to the minimum. Capricorn, Saturn and Capricorn looks in something and tries to figure out what it is. It's not trying to impose its will on what it thinks it should be. So our work of Capricorn is to say, what is the reality that I am dealing with? And the sun in Cancer offers us perspective. It is asking us to assess the role that our immediate needs play in this reality. And who are the people? Now, if you turn to July, I have a monthly summary here. This is on my website, shop.thepeoplesoracle.com, or go to thepeoplesoracle.com and click shop. And this is just $25 to download. I don't have any hard copies left. But you can get an intro to Sidereal astrology guide free when you download this. Just make sure to add them to both items to your cart. If you email me telling me that you forgot to add both items to your cart and can I send it to you? No. Add both items to your cart so that you can get the discount. But what I want you to look at in this guide, I want you to look at this last paragraph in the monthly summary for July. And it says, planets in Cancer bring us to the next part of the Saturn and Capricorn story via oppositions. New developments in your Cancer house mean putting out fires because immediate needs can't wait for your longer term plans to pan out. However, now it's imperative that longer term ambitions account for the immediate needs that will arise over time. This is a tough opposition that says just because you need it doesn't mean you'll have it. We are not babies in utero. The existence of certain needs do not necessitate their own fulfillment. We must prioritize our needs with the mindset of resourcefulness with sobriety. Why do these hoes got to do this right now? I don't understand. So, you can answer these questions in order to find out where actually Cancer is in your chart. Now, first, that means you must use the instructions that I have written on my website for how to cast your sidereal birth chart. Don't email me or tweet me or DM me asking me about interceptions and all this kind of nonsense, because all that tells me is that you did not read the instructions. So read the instructions and follow the instructions. And once you do that, you can fill out these tables, right? So my sidereal birth chart, you follow the instructions, paste it here, write down where the planets are, write down which houses have which sign. So for me, Cancer is my 8th house. So when I go to July and this question says, what are you focused on in your Cancer house? I go look at the 8th house significations in the table that says houses, house meanings. 8th house is death, loss, fear, debt, loans, grants, scholarships, fellowships, material dependence and interdependence, communal and intergenerational living, gifts and inheritance. Then I list people, the deceased, internal reproductive organs, bowel, and colon. All right. But the questions here for July say, what are you focused on in your Cancer house? How does that focus shift your priorities and how you use your resources in your Capricorn house? And what needs are coming into focus as you reckon with previous limitations in meeting them? So that's your work for July. July is almost over, and we've got August next. The last thing I want to talk about in this guide is the fill in the blanks here. So I have fill in the blanks for July in the back, and the relevant ones here: new moon in Cancer, which we're going to pull some cards for today. Establishing a hierarchy of my immediate needs in the house in your birth chart, not mine, that has Cancer on it. Once you follow the instructions, you'll have that. Now, I'm going to take questions about this guide after I finish this video. So what will likely happen is that I will be taking questions only on Instagram so that I can end the video appropriately on YouTube. You come over to Instagram, People's Oracle, put your question in the question box. Don't put your question in the question box yet, because when this video has to be shut off, your question in the question box is going to be gone. So save your question for the question box until I ask you to put your question in the question box. See how that works? I love it. It's great. All right, let's see what these cards have to say about this Cancer new moon. This is a big one, guys. This is setting up the next year and a half of our lives, all the way through 2023, actually, January 2023. So the next 2 or so years of our lives, this Cancer new moon is really laying an important foundation. It's so important that you learn to think bigger than just one event. And that's really my hope with these videos I do. That's my hope with the 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide. I've done the work of tying together the timelines. All you have to do is do your homework, people. Just do your homework, babies. Do your homework, beloved. Get your pens and pencils out and do your homework. All right, let us see. Yes, this new moon was exhausting because Cancer reminds you that you have a body. That's why it's exhausting. Because your body be like, did you sleep though? Well, how long did you sleep? Well, how long did you sleep last night? What about the week before last? Oh, so you ain't been sleeping for like a week. Well, what you think is going to happen to your body? Of course you're going to be tired. Have you been drinking water? Did you get your fruits and vegetables? Did you talk to your mama? Have you got a hug? Did you take a bath? Have you brushed your teeth? When the last time you done cleaned in between your toes, right? That's what Cancer does. And especially because so many of us have been in isolation, we tired of our bodies. I'm tired of thinking about food. I'm tired of cooking food. I'm tired of washing dishes. But this is because isolation has meant that the burden of survival is not shared. And so those of us who live alone and do not have community, who have chosen to put down roots based on some other ambition or drive, are realizing that they ain't got nobody to share the burden of survival with. You forgot how important relationships are. You forgot that if you leave your family, you have to replace it. You have to create a sense of community and belonging, because when the get down happens and the engine of capitalism starts to fail, you don't have the cheap and free labor of other people in order to share the burden of survival with you. You need actual relationships with actual people who know you and got your back, and you got their back too, right? See, this is what's so wild about our culture, that they fed us this doctrine of individualism to the point that we all live in our own boxes by ourselves and have been counting on the ability to leave our boxes every now and then to go people when we want to, because relationships are such a burden. I just don't want to have to deal with people. Oh, I don't really like people that much. Wow, that's deep. That's a privilege. It's a privilege to say that you don't like people. Oh, you got enough money to just pay everybody to do all the things that you would otherwise need relationships for? What about when your dollar can't help you? What about that? So here we have another way that we've been relying on capitalism to fill in the blanks of our relationships. You need family. I don't care if they're blood or not. You need someone who shares the burden of survival with you. What do I say? Come on, saints. Survival is not an individual responsibility. It is meant to be a shared burden. We're supposed to carry that cross together. When I'm tired, somebody else is going to cook the meals. While I'm hoeing and sewing, So, I don't mean it like that. I meant hoeing in the field, people. But hoeing too, hey, that's a legitimate source of income, you know? Shouts out to the sex workers in these streets. So when I'm hoeing and sewing, you're taking out the trash and mowing the lawn and harvesting the greens or something. I don't know. Right? So where are your people, man? I know it's hard, but we all drank the Kool-Aid of individualism. We did. We really, really, really did. But now, no more, because that Kool-Aid was poisonous. Okay? So I'm going to draw some cards for us. Card on the bottom is the Two of Cups. Do you know what my favorite thing to do is? My favorite thing to do is to debunk common tropes in divination. So I would like, I love that. I love that. Relationships are technology. Absolutely. I like to debunk common tropes about tarot cards, zodiac signs, astrological placements. I want to tell you how many times I've seen the Two of Cups and it's meant love and romance and relationships. 0. There have been 0 times. I've been reading tarot going on 11 years. Never have I ever seen this card, the Two of Cups, mean love and relationships. If you want to be a good oracle, if you want to learn how to divine using systems, you must learn to let the system teach you. You must not be afraid to sit in silence and let the card, the planet, the star, the bone, the tea leaf, the water, whatever it may be. Don't be afraid to sit in silence and wait for it to speak to you. Revelation does not come because you read a lot of books, Gemini. Revelation does not come because you took such and such a course that said in 30 days learn how to be a tarot master. That's not going to happen. Revelation comes because you have the discipline to make room for spirit to speak to you. See, people think this stuff is in books. People think it's in a course. This is divination. That means it requires a connection with the divine. If you do not have a connection with the divine, if you have not cultivated, tended to it, then you cannot use tools of divination. It's really that simple. Anyways, the whole point, yes, somebody says same for lovers. Absolutely. So the whole point of this card is allowing yourself to be or becoming aware of how you are affected. Being affected means that something or someone can enter your space, your mind, your life, and you change. Now, those of you who have been following me for a while know that the planet Venus is about this. How willing or unwilling are you to adapt and change in order to be in relationship and community? I'm going to say it again. The planet Venus asks the question, how willing or unwilling are you to change and adapt in order to be in relationship and community? You cannot love or be loved unless you are willing to change. The Two of Cups is asking us, can you be changed? Can you see in the face of another yourself? Can you accept the reflection? Can you be affected by it? Can you? Raise your hand if you in your life have learned very well how not to be affected. by other people, because the people in your life who have affected you don't give a fuck about you. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have developed a beautiful and lustrous steel armor against change because you refused to conform to the abuse and violence of those who allegedly shared the burden of survival with you. Raise your hand if that's too scary for you. That's most of us, right? When it comes to relationship and community, the relationship is another entity. It's a meeting place for the minds, the bodies, spirits, experiences, emotions, needs, desires, ambitions of all the parties involved. And that is alchemical, it's metaphysical, it's something melanging, coming together. I mean, look at this card. Look at it. You see that? It's all coming together. So I'm changed by you, you're changed by me, and we're changed by this thing that emerges from our togetherness. What is emerging from the togetherness that you are creating with other people? It might not be pretty. You might not like it, right? Let's see what the other cards are. We've got the Knight of Swords. We've got the Ace of Swords. Woo! And we've got the Seven of Wands. That is such a stark shift in these cards. We're just talking about the Two of Cups and being changed and allowing yourself to be affected. I mean, that's really what Cancer is about, the sign. It is about you showing up into a space, and that space changes because you are there in a relational sense. You expressing a need or having a need. And there is a correspondence in those around you that sees and validates that need by either meeting it or helping you to meet it. That's the function of relationship. That's the function of family. That's the function of sharing the burden of survival. It means to be affected. The Knight of Swords is the affector. It's the instigator and initiator of change. The Knight of Swords is led, compelled by conviction and belief. The Knight of Swords knows they're right, and they believe very deeply, so deeply in what it is that they perceive and understand that they're ready to go all out on it. Then we have the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is like a microphone. Say it with your chest, yeah. That's the Ace of Swords. You got to say it with your chest. You got to put the force of your gut behind. You got to put your diaphragm in it. You got to speak it up loud. Don't hold back. Don't be scared. Just say it, right? So when we get the Knight of Swords and the Ace of Swords together, there is, I think, this drive, this compulsion to speak up and say, you affected me in this way. And to be able to hear others when they say that you have affected me in this way. Or to be able to speak truth to yourself and say, I have been affected. It's real. It's real. One of the things that's so fascinating about the zodiac is that adjacent signs are the most different. So when we talk about, for example, the change from planets in Gemini to planets in Cancer, we're really talking about the change from a symbolic, cerebral, detached focus to an embodied, subjective, biological focus. That when you really hear and listen to your body, it might say something totally different than what you've rationalized and made yourself to believe. And that can be hard, right? So here's a question. As you are coming into awareness of the importance of being affected, as you're realizing the ways that you have been affected and the ways that you affect others, how does this bring up in you a change and shift in your convictions? How are your beliefs and your intentions changing based on this new awareness of your body? When your body speaks to you and tells you what's going on with it, when you really are able to come to a new judgment about the causes of what it feels like to be in your body. Can you feel your hunger? Do you listen to your body when it says it's sleepy? Do you feed yourself? Do you know when to drink water? Do you know when to take a nap? Do you know when you've done too much and you need to sit down? Do you know how to do that? That's called self-mothering, right? However, if your needs have habitually been ignored, if you were not fed appropriately, if you witnessed people burning out and sacrificing their bodies because if they had to, because of poverty, right? That might mean you've internalized an inability to hear your body, but this is something that you can cultivate. It's something that you can work at. And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you'll be able to take all the naps that you want to when you want to and you'll have the means to eat. But when you listen to your body, it might cause you to make changes in your relationships. It might cause you to reject the connections that you've taken for granted because they don't share the burden of survival with you. It might cause you to speak up loudly more than you ever have before about what you know is right and true for you. It might make you be like, I need insert, and if you can't give it to me, then there's no room for you in my life, right? How many of you have the courage to speak up about your needs that way? How many of you have the capacity, have cultivated the capacity to hear the voice of your body to the point that you can be like, you know what, that's too loud. I don't have the bandwidth for that. I can't really hear you today because it's making me feel anxious. I really need to eat, so I can't talk to you on the phone right now. That doesn't fit in my schedule because I prioritize sleep, right? This can change your convictions and your belief systems and your relationships. The last card here is the Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands. I saw Miss Grace and Resilience say bombs, and I was like, Seven of Wands. No, the Seven of Wands. This is a very perfect partner for the Knight of Swords because the Seven of Wands is about standing your ground. This is what y'all need to know about Cancer. Cancer as a sign is not weak. It's not passive. It's not some all. Cancer is insistent and persistent. Cancer will drown you. Cancer will say, eat now or you're gonna pass out, ho. Cancer is you falling asleep at the wheel of your car because you haven't been sleeping. Cancer is your chronic illness flaring up because of the stress that you're under in your relationships or during this pandemic. Cancer is, when was the last time you took your vitamins? Oh, no wonder your iron is low, right? We can be focused and have our ambitions driven elsewhere. But Cancer is like, listen to your body. And also, that might mean that you have to unpack some of the things that you've internalized about your own needs based on how they were treated when you were a kid, based on how your mother might still treat them, right? Seven of Wands is persistence. It is standing your ground. It is not letting up. It is digging your heels in and pressing forward towards the mark. This moment requires us to stand in the truth of our needs. It requires us to make a sober assessment of the reality that we're in. And what that means, though, is that a whole lot of other stuff becomes way less important. Whatever you thought your 2020 was going to look like, whatever plans you had, this is stripping us down to these essentials. Who shares the burden of survival with you? Have you eaten? Have you checked on your people? Have your people checked on you? How are you being affected by the people in your life? Who is family to you? What stories do you need to unpack around your experience of being mothered? How well are you able to take over the task of mothering? Is mothering something that is supposed to be wholly embodied in one person, or is mothering supposed to be a shared duty? What does it look like when your own self-mothering is a shared obligation? How many choices in your life have you made based on the projection, hope, idea that someone somewhere was going to be able to meet your needs? That even though you live alone, far away from what is familiar to you, that the takeout would be available, the grocery store would be open, the buses would be running, the trains would be manned, the trash would be picked up. Don't forget that those are all people. Those are all people. These aren't conceptual ideas. Things don't just fall from the sky. The stork does not grow your potatoes. The stork does not deliver your steak from the realm of cows, right? These are all real people who have families and who have needs. When you embrace your own humanity in the form of the fact that you actually have a body that needs things and that will eventually die, it allows you to embrace the humanity in other people. But as long as you think that somebody is going to come and save you, like Moses floating down the river in a basket and Pharaoh picks him up and saves him, boo, you ain't Moses. Harriet Tubman has gone on to be with the Lord. You're not a baby anymore. You got to put some skin in the game. I tweeted in that same tweet where I was talking about relationships as primarily being about survival. I was talking about, I just lost my thought. Oh, I brought in some threads from over the past few years where I've talked about relationship and attachment. And Cancer is this sign of attachment. Attachment is being affected. Attachment is having a shared sense of survival with someone. Now, some people don't like that in their love relationships, in their romantic relationships, and that's cool. Maybe it doesn't need to be in your romantic relationships, and we can set that aside into another category. But when it comes to your tribe, your people, where you belong, you need attachment. You need for yourself to care if they didn't eat or they're not safe. And you want somebody to have that same thing for you. So I don't want to hear nothing about, I don't want no attachment. No, you don't have a choice. You're a human. It's a fundamental biological need for us to survive. Attachment means I got some skin in the game, and when your survival is negatively affected, so am I. So I probably want to make sure that you's good, because if you're not good, I'm not good. We don't have enough of that. And this story is going to repeat and circle back around a couple more times next year, especially because at the new moon, by the time we get to June and July of 2021, Mars is going to be in Capricorn. And then we're really going to have to listen to the body. We're not going to have any choice, right? I think that that's a really great place to end this portion of the reading. YouTube, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like this video, subscribe. If you would like to participate in the second portion of this video, which will be on YouTube, on Instagram very shortly, go to my online store, download the 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide. Make sure you add the Intro to Sidereal Astrology Guide to your cart so that you can get that for free. Join me on YouTube, and I'm going to walk you through this whole calendar. I'm going to take questions about filling it out, so on and so forth, such and such and such and such. I will see you all hopefully in a couple of weeks so we can talk about the full moon in Capricorn. I told you we still got another few weeks of Sun in Cancer. Listen, Mercury's not even going to get to Cancer until August 1st. Venus is not going to get to Cancer until the end of August. So planets are going to be filing through filing through Cancer, and offering us more perspective on this longer term Saturn and Capricorn transit, and giving us the heads up about how to function and deal with reality. Thank you all for tuning in, YouTube, Instagram. Give me a minute. I just want to make sure